Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. Today is Friday, which means it's the Ask Me Anything. Yeah, I know, it used to be done on Wednesdays, but there was a slight change a couple of weeks ago due to a change in my schedule, so the Ask Me Anything is now every Friday. And I will answer pretty much any question that you said. Well, send it over, and the answer might be, I'm not answering this, but, I will answer your questions. And I've got two fairly interesting questions this week. Actually, a statement and two questions. So a while back, I think I had mentioned, and I'm hoping that I did, I thought I did, there was a listener had offered to send me some duck jerky, Muscovy Duck to be specific, and they also sent some deer jerky, and it was incredible, by the way. But he, actually, the guy made a video of, I've not actually watched the video yet, but I will post it in the show notes where he sent me a link to a video. It says, here's one of my recipes for peppered Muscovy duck jerky. So I'll share that with you in hopes that, maybe if you want to make some jerky, you could use the recipe. He also asked a question because last week there was the question about, do I do any gardening? He asked a question, are there any community gardens in your area? Specifically, Keene, New Hampshire is where I live, and apparently there is one. I did not know about this until I did some research, and the Keene Parks and Recreation Department actually does offer a community garden. It's open from the third Monday in May until the end of September. So not a lot of time for people to wind up planting and growing things. And it's $20 for a plot. The plot is 19 foot by 25 feet. And there are rules and regulations that they have. And if you do not properly clean your site in the community garden by the end of the season, they will fine you $100. So I'll post the link to this where it's got, all the different rules and regulations. Post that in the show notes. You can look at it at your leisure if you so choose. But let me just sort of go back. There was, again, the question last week about gardening, and specifically, do I garden? And no, I don't. I've got so many other things going on. I also don't have a green thumb. I think I had mentioned at one time I had a cactus that somehow wound up dying, and I am still baffled by that. So no, I don't do any gardening, but I appreciate the people that do. And I don't eat a lot of things that grow from the ground. Now, I'll occasionally eat fruit, but those generally grow on trees. Like, you don't dig up bananas. Those grow on a tree. You don't dig up apples. Those grow on trees. Now, I do eat sweet potatoes, and apparently, those don't take a lot of work, but still, you've got to pull weeds out of the thing, and there's a lot of work that goes into tending a garden. So, I definitely have respect for people that do it, but I would much rather eat, like eggs or chicken or even duck. Eating animals are tasty. Animals have the ability to turn weird green things that grow in the ground into tasty, tasty meat. Now, continuing on with the questions. The next question, what are your thoughts on Judge Napolitano meeting with Donald Trump? And I've heard speculation, because this is not the first time that Napolitano and Trump had a sit-down. Apparently, they had one back in December. I don't have the date in front of me, but it was in December that former Judge Napolitano met with Donald Trump. Napolitano, probably best known as being a analyst for Fox News. At one time, he had a television show on Fox Business. And, he works for Fox News, had a meeting with Donald Trump. There's a brief article from Fox Business about this meeting. They also link to an article about the previous meeting. I'll actually read the article about the first meeting first. President-elect at the time, now President Donald Trump, has been busy since Election Day, carefully choosing members who will fill his cabinet. But in the midst of the rush to staff his administration, Trump took time for advice from Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. The judge outlined desirable qualities for a potential nominee who could fill an empty Supreme Court vacancy, or rather the empty seat created by the vacancy after Antonin Scalia passed away almost a year ago. Judge Napolitano advised President-elect Trump on how to scope out the best candidates based on intellectual, ideological, and temperamental qualities. Napolitano told Fox Business Network's Stuart Varney he's interested in a broad range of ideas and attitudes about the type of person who would best fill Judge Scalia's seat. Now, about the meeting that happened just a couple days ago, and somehow I believe I have the same article. No, this new article dated January 17th, but it still uses the term president. That's because it was January 17th, 3 days before Trump was inaugurated. Somehow I thought, when I first saw it, that it was the 27th. But nonetheless, recently, Judge Napolitano met with Donald Trump again advising him on a potential nominee who could fill the empty Supreme Court seat left vacant again by Judge Scalia's death last year. Napolitano again told Fox Business Network's Stuart Varney Trump is focusing on his choices or his choice for the Supreme Court. We discussed the judicial attitudes, judicial temperament, judicial ideology, and candidates for the court. Who could those candidates be? That is what we'll talk about next.
Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Coinbase also allows you to buy and sell Bitcoin using a bank account or use their tools to accept Bitcoin as a merchant. Coinbase has more than 1 million consumer wallets and is trusted by over 25,000 merchants, including Overstock.com, Khan Academy, Reddit, and of course, FPP. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Now, something that you don't need to go meeting with retired judges who now work for Fox News about is where you can get some gold and silver. And, well, people have been going to Roberts & Roberts Brokerage since 1977. They are a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals. So, they go both ways. You have some silver that you want to get rid of? Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. You want to buy some silver? Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. And they take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency.
So call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760. Or visit them online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. Getting back into the question about what do I think about Judge Napolitano meeting with Donald Trump. Well, because we don't really have any details of what were discussed other than, quote, from Napolitano, we discussed the judicial attitudes, judicial temperament, judicial ideology, and candidates for the court, end quote. So we don't know what was discussed. We don't know what Donald Trump is taking away from the meeting. So without any details of the meeting, I can't really give thoughts on the meeting. Do I think it's kind of neat that, somebody that might kind of be somewhat libertarian on some stuff, but is definitely more of a constitutionalist, met with Donald Trump to discuss judicial things? Yeah, that's kind of neat. But one would hope that when you're looking for a judge, you would speak to, judicial lawyers that understand what the Constitution is supposed to be about. Again, Judge Napolitano, not necessarily a libertarian, although some people will say, well, he did work with Ron Paul, so therefore libertarian. No, that's you don't become libertarian by association. It's just like guilt by association of, oh, you know a guy that did that bad thing that one time, so therefore you're a bad guy too. Nope. Guilt and libertarianism are not STDs. They don't get spread by association. But nonetheless, I really don't know what to think about, whatever. And so the other question is, does this mean, as some are speculating, I don't think it's very likely, does this mean that Donald Trump is going to appoint Judge Napolitano to the Supreme Court? Probably not. I think, there's a chance, but there's also a chance that I'm going to win the lottery tonight that I didn't even buy a ticket for. It's not a very good chance. It's not a realistic chance, but there is a chance. Now, there has been a short list that was put out actually back in, I think it was during the campaign. The article is dated just a couple of days ago, but they reference in here during the campaign, Trump circulated a list of candidates that he would consider for the Supreme Court. And this comes from USA Today. They say, but most of the buzz in legal circles has focused on 3 federal appeals court judges, Neil Gorsuch of Colorado, William Pryor of Alabama, and Thomas Hardiman of Pennsylvania. The high-profile pick is likely to reignite a partisan brawl over judges in the U.S. Senate and across the country. Republicans refuse to hold a vote on former President Barack Obama's nomination to fill the seat left vacant by Scalia. And Trump tweeted a couple days ago that he will be making the announcement on February 2nd. Now, just to remind you, you know what February 2nd is, correct? Yes, that's right. It's Groundhog's Day. It's the day where a politician walks out of a hole, and if he sees his shadow, you need to shove him back in the hole. I'm joking. No, Groundhog Day is the day where, some furry little critter comes out and somebody determines whether he saw his shadow or not. And if he did, then one thing happens. If he did not, then something that means the exact same thing but worded differently winds up happening. One of them is 6 more weeks of winter. The other is 6 weeks until the beginning of spring. Those are the same things. It's like 6 eggs or half a dozen eggs. It's the same thing, just 2 different ways of saying it. Back to the article from USA Today about the potential nominees for the U.S. Supreme Court.
And I have to say that I've not heard of two of the three individuals. I only know of William Pryor because, well, I was born and raised in Alabama, and that's where Pryor is from. So the article here from USA Today says Neil Gorsuch of Colorado, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but nonetheless, he's currently a judge in the 10th Circuit, and at 49 years old is the youngest of the group, reportedly being considered by Donald Trump. He, according to USA Today, is the, quote, most natural replacement for the late Justice Antonin Scalia, because he's a strict adherent of originalism, Scalia's belief that the Constitution should be interpreted based on the original intent of the founders, and he also has much of Scalia's flair as a writer. Judge Gorsuch has the type of academic credentials common to high court justices, Columbia, Harvard Law, even Oxford. He clerked for Justices Byron White and Anthony Kennedy, then practiced law in Washington and did a stint at the Justice Department. William Pryor, who is currently on the 11th Circuit, has been the, quote, conservatives' justice in waiting for years, and at 54 comes straight out of central casting as a former Attorney General of Alabama. Likely in his corner, U.S. Attorney General designee Jeff Sessions, who preceded Pryor as Alabama's top law enforcement officer. Now, Pryor can be somewhat controversial. We'll explain here in moments on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. We're talking about the potential Supreme Court nominee that's not yet been named, so it's all speculation. Donald Trump has said he will make his announcement on February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Shove a politician in a hole. If they see their shadow, they're not in far enough. Shove them in even more. And then, it's either going to be 6 more weeks until spring begins or 6 weeks until spring begins. But they say it as 6 more weeks of winter. It's the same thing. Now, the article here from USA Today about the top 3 people that were on Trump's short list, they're talking about Judge William Pryor, who is a former attorney general in Alabama, and he followed Jeff Sessions as being the attorney general in Alabama. Jeff Sessions, of course, being the designee, Trump's appointee for U.S. attorney general. And they say, but Pryor is controversial. He once criticized the Supreme Court's 1973 decision in Roe v. Wade, which legalized abortion nationwide, as, quote, the worst abomination of constitutional law in our history. Pryor has even taken some flack from conservatives concerned about a ruling he joined in favor of transgender rights. So he seems to either have changed his mind on things or doesn't know exactly where he stands on, do people have rights or don't they have rights? And the abortion topic is one that I don't want to discuss on here just because it's such a delicate subject and there's so much nuance. And one, you're not going to change anybody's opinion by having some kind of discussion, especially, again, because there's so much nuance. And also it's something to where people want to take a soundbite and, try and, here's a 5-second little soundbite. You said X, when point of fact, no, that's not what I said at all. The third candidate is Thomas Hardiman, Pennsylvania's 3rd Circuit, and USA Today lists him as a dark horse among the finalists. Hardiman, who is 51, is not unfamiliar to Trump. He actually sits on the same U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the 3rd Circuit as the president's sister, Marianne Trump Berry. Now, here's some interesting news that I just learned today. Donald Trump apparently has a sister, and that sister is a judge. Yeah, see, this is something that, a lot of times political candidates, you'll learn things about their family. All I really knew about Donald Trump's, personal life is that he's been married several times and has a bunch of kids. And that's really all I know about his personal life, other than, like the real estate stuff to where his company, not Donald Trump personally, but, the Trump Enterprises, has filed bankruptcy several times. And I know that Trump gets mad when you say that he's filed bankruptcy because, like Donald Trump Enterprises is basically Donald Trump, the person. There's not a lot of distinction there. So if his business files bankruptcy, it's basically akin to Donald Trump filing bankruptcy, but he will shake his tiny, tiny fist at me in the air if he ever knows that I said this. And he'll shake his fist even more ferociously after he hears me call it a tiny, tiny fist. And I'm not going to try pulling up the article, but there was an article that was done where somebody took a sketch of his hand because, like he's got one of the Walk of Fame things or something to where, like here's a handprint from Donald Trump. And so they outlined it and they took measures. And based on his height, his hands are small for his height. So when Donald Trump gets mad of, I've got big hands, look how big my hand is. Well, no, Donald, your hand is actually small for somebody your size. And there was a thing to where they printed out or had where you could print out on an 8.5 by 11 PDF Donald Trump's handprint, and then you could compare your hand to Donald Trump's hand. And I have bigger hands than Donald Trump. So when I talk about Donald Trump's tiny, tiny hands, they're small compared to mine. So ha ha, joke's on you. Back now to Thomas Hardiman, the 3rd candidate, at least according to USA Today, to fill the vacancy left when Antonin Scalia passed away last year. They say Hardiman's career as a judge is marked by law and order. He has maintained a solidly conservative record on issues involving guns, searches, police officers, and prison guards, more so than Scalia, who often sided with criminal defendants against overzealous prosecutors. In that sense, Hardiman is much like Justice Samuel Alito, who came from the same appeals court. Now, again, it's all speculation right now over who the nominee is going to be to fill Scalia's seat. And when Barack Obama made the appointment last year of Merrick Garland, I don't think that was a name that anybody was floating about as somebody that was, on the short list to wind up being added to the Supreme Court. And, of course, the Republicans in Congress wound up saying, we're not going to have hearings. And then later, towards the end of the year, said it's unprecedented that a seat goes unfilled this long. Well, it only went unfilled because you didn't even have a hearing on whether or not to wind up, giving a yay or nay on the appointment. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Stay tuned. There's more.
Hey, this is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've been working with computer programmer Derek Slopey to create Fiend Phone. I'm using Fiend Phone right now to talk with and record one of my co-hosts in real time. Take it, Davi.
Hey, this is Davi Barker, and I'm 1,000 miles away from Michael, but we sound like we're in the same room.
We sure do, Davi. So, Davi, please tell the nice people more about Fiend Phone.
Fiend Phone is free, open-source software that opens up a global world of possibilities for collaborative, high-quality remote voice media production, and I'm digging it.
People can try the Windows beta version of Fiend Phone right now at fiendphone.com. But we're also raising money to vastly improve Fiend Phone and vastly improve independent talk media worldwide.
So go to fiendphone.com to help out. Who will build the audio roads? We will, with your help.
That's fiendphone.com. FEENPHONE.com. Foxtrot, Echo, November, phone.com.
Fiend Phone. I never knew remote audio could be this good.
This is Paige Peterson from MaidSafe, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. If you like the show, and this is something that I don't do often enough, is promote the fans program. But if you like the show, even a little bit, consider joining the fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. And you can join for, generally, I used to say as little as $3 per month, but I've changed it to where you can give, at least $1 a month. But there are certain perks that don't kick in until that $3 mark. But even at $1 a month, you will get the ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. At $3 a month, then you get the newspaper in your mailbox every month. That's right. I publish a newspaper, FPP News. You get that in your mailbox every month. A physical newspaper. You don't really see those a lot too often, right? Let alone one that is full of liberty content. You can get that in your mailbox every month. And there are other perks that you can get. So certain levels, you wind up getting additional perks. I believe it's the $10 per month level that you wind up getting a signed copy of my memoir, specifically of how I became a libertarian, that being A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. And then there's another level up to where you can actually be listed as an executive producer of the show. And if you stay at that top level for a certain number of months, I'm not going to tell you how long, because, that might incentivize you, or, I don't know if it's going to incentivize somebody to join that level just for the number of months to get that perk and then, I'm dropping down. But if you do, yeah, that's fine. But there's a special perk to where you get, I think it's some pint glasses and a couple other things at that top level. Again, fans.fppradio.com. That's friends, allies, and numerous supporters, fans.fppradio.com. And Patreon, which is who the fans program runs through. They've added in some really cool features recently. The one that I'm most thrilled about is the custom RSS feed, to where you don't have to worry about going to fans.fppradio.com every day and downloading the ad-free version. Just they'll give you an RSS feed. You put that in your podcatcher, and it will download automatically for you. Don't forget, every Friday, I answer your questions. Send those over, ama@fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.